Okay, well hello YouTube. It's been a couple days since my last video, but that one was for homework, so I don't expect anybody to watch that. If you do, I'm sorry that I had to sit through those 2 minutes of horribleness. Anyway, the Saw video game, Saw 2 Flesh and Blood, came out about 2.5, almost 3 weeks ago, and I got it the day that it came out on Thursday, and I beat it on Saturday. Like, I'd played it all night Thursday. I worked Friday, so I played a little bit Friday night, and then I beat the rest Saturday during the day. Needless to say, it was one of those games where I locked myself in my room, said fuck you to my parents and family, and I locked the door, and I did not come out unless I needed to food, feast, or bathroom. You know what that is. So, it was not that it was the best game I've ever played, it's just that I personally had to get it done, and I didn't want any distractions, because most likely they would have said, stop, you need dinner, you've been playing that for hours, oh my god, get out of there, you know, whatever, just whatever. So I'm letting you know right now, I'm going to be doing an in-depth review of the game right now, with tons of spoilers, so if you don't want to watch it, then don't. Okay, first of all, I'd like to say that I played the first game, and I'm going to put a link to the first game's review in the info, so that if you want to watch that, you can. The graphics, you have to watch the first one to understand some of the stuff I'm about to say. So the graphics, just as bad as the first one. There's probably just as much fake blood, and it just did not look nearly as realistic as it could have. It looked cheap. It did look like a cheap, let's throw this game together half-assedly, that kind of game. The traps in this game were very cool. You've got the water box that Sarah was in, and slowly fills up with water. That's the original trap from Strom for Saw 5 when he died instead of the crushing walls. But yeah, it was really cool. Nice, the water box filled up. You've got the guy that's hanging over the fire and he gets slowly burned, the accountant. That means the Jew. And then the one where Carla, she has the elevator. She got the top of herself attached to an elevator, and the bottom part lowers, and then she'll get ripped in half. And then the 3 cops, the one with the gun that's pointed at his face, and you have to do some puzzle, and then you have to save another cop by, oh wow, I forgot. There's the crushing, like, you know, for Saw 5, when the pendulum, and he has to stick his hands in those things, and his hands get crushed. It's like that, but it's one on his arm, 2 on his arms, and then 2 on his legs, and then 1 on his head, and he slowly gets squished. And then, you know, I don't remember the last one. If I remember correctly, it's not that great. So, yeah, just assume that it's not too amazing. You get to see a reprisal of that one from Saw 2, and that was pretty cool. So the characters in this game, there are 3 cops. I could not decipher between them in the entire movie, so I did not. Whatever. There's this one woman, Sarah. She was a drug addict. She was in love with David Tapp. David is his name, David? I think it's David. And you learn that after he got kicked off the police force, they were kind of having a thing, and it was kind of cute because she was really mad at Michael. Do you guys even know the plot of the game? The plot of the game is that after you played the first one again, you have to watch that to watch this, and Detective Tapp from the first movie, he dies in the second game, supposedly, or in the first game, and then in the second game, you're playing as Tapp's son, trying to figure out what happened to your father. Okay, so in this game, you're learning about how Michael, the son, and all the people that you're saving all helped kill the father. And you're like, well, Jigsaw killed the father. Wait a minute, lol, what? I'm confused. And so you watch it, and you're playing the game, and you're like, okay, this doesn't make sense, until the very end scene where you've got all the cops, you know, all the cops are corrupt, working with drugs, sex, hookers, bad people. You've got Sarah, who's the drug addict, but she's in love with Detective Tapp. Carla, the doctor from number 1 that Gordon was having, the connection with, and she was stealing drugs and medical equipment and selling that on the street. And she was supplying all the drugs and medical equipment to Sarah and all the bad people. So you learn that all these people, and the accountant, who was also, I'm assuming, a Jew. I'm going to stop saying that now. You figure out that he was in charge of all the monetary earnings and stuff, and he was making all this happen. So you learn that all these people came together and were not necessarily working against Tapp, but they kind of were. And you figure out that they're all bad, and then Tap is like, wait a minute, I'm the only nice cop here. You learn that Detective Carey is a complete bitch. You learn that Strom is a hothead. You learn that Perez is kind of a boring person. You learn that all the cops everywhere corrupt as fuck. Everybody's just horrible. And nobody's done anything as good. Except that you learn that Hoffman is very introverted, which is a lie, because if you watch the movie, he's a monster. And so, you learn every cop is a bad guy except for Tap, and Tap was on this. You know, Tap's like, hey, I understand what you guys are doing, I'm going to tell on you. So he threatens to tell them, or they figure out that he's on the case, and then they all work together, get him fired, and kicked off the Jigsaw case. And he went crazy because he knew that he shouldn't have, and he also had his best friend shot. And then he got kicked off the case for something that he didn't do anything wrong for, and he was, yeah, so you learn why he went crazy, you learn why he was kicked off the force, and you learn that Tap is basically the most caring, best character in the Saw series, because he's not a douche dick, ass-tard, and he's the only one that didn't do bad things, and he did not deserve to die the death that he did die. And you learn that Michael, he's the one that did this, he's a journalist, by the way, that's kind of important. You learn that he did this one story, a news story, about his father, and it basically said that his father was crazy and a lunatic and that everybody else is good, his father sucked, blah, blah, blah. Basically, selling his father and giving him away and saying, hey, Dad, fuck you, I need money, and I need to be famous. So his dad basically disowned his son, and his son didn't care. So all of them worked together to get Detective Tap killed. Holy shit. Really? Yeah. Continuing on with the game. Besides the bad graphics, in the game you also see a few recurring characters, like characters that come back, like, you see the Pig Mask, but in this game Pig Mask is much more violent, hint, hint, it's Hoffman, and it doesn't say directly, but if you have half a brain and are not, if your mom and dad aren't brother and sister, it's Hoffman, you know it's Hoffman. And then Jigsaw, you actually see real Jigsaw animated, and, you know, get Tobin Bell animated, and he's like, excuse me, he's talking to Michael, he's like, hello, Michael, blah, 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 blah. And he's giving, like, actual advice and such, and he's talking to him. He's trying to explain to Michael what he did wrong. So he appears in person a couple times. What Michael's wearing. He's wearing the shotgun vest instead of the shotgun collar that Michael, or his dad was wearing. You know, if you get too close to another bad guy, the shotgun collar goes off. This one's a shotgun vest. If you get too close to something you're not supposed to get close to, or you have to work around it, it'll explode. So basically, it's just a monitor saying where you can and can't go. It's very cool. Overall, I think that I'd say the game is better than the first content-wise. However, gameplay-wise, it was a bitch. The puzzles were hard as hell, and since I got it right as the game came out, there were not any cheats, walkthroughs, or hints, and there weren't any like hotlines or anything. Not that I would, because I'm not a loser, but it was hard because I couldn't go for anything for help. So everything that I got, I figured out myself, and I figured that out pretty darn quick. So I'm proud of myself. But the puzzles were very, very hard, like almost to the point where I was on normal mode too. There's only normal and insane mode, and I was on normal mode, and I had no idea what I was doing for some of the parts, and it was mostly guessing. So if you are not good at puzzles, this game might not be for you, or you need to have a walkthrough with you. Either way, good luck. The fighting sequence in the first one, it's like 3 punches with your hands, the guy's dead. I'm like, honestly, who dies after 3 punches? Maybe you get knocked out after like 5. Or a nail bat to the head, boom, you should be dead right there, not like 3 hits. No. So, this one they're like, let's do quick time event. Triangles, come together, hit triangle. Squares, square. Circle. X. And that's what it is. And you just hit the buttons when it does, and it's so stupid, because it's like you're not even fighting, you're just hitting buttons, so it's so stupid. But besides that, it was very, very good. The twist at the end was very good. I don't know if I'm going to have time to explain this, but basically, in the very beginning, the tutorial of the game, you're learning about everything that goes, and you have this character whose name is Campbell, and he's got the thing on him, and you have to get the key out of his eye, which you do, and you go through, and then you get to this one part where the walls are closing in on him, and then Jigsaw says, hey, Campbell, you have cancer, you're going to die, you can stay here and get squished and save the life of a man that you have no idea, who's healthy and has a long life ahead of him, maybe, unless you get in that glass elevator right in front of you. If you do, there's only room for you, and the man above you, who you've never met before, will die. But he has a healthy life, he should live. and then you just go walk, you do whatever you want to, and you're like, oh, okay, whatever. I either killed him or saved him. Whatever, no big deal. Then at the very end of the game, Michael, the character, you get into like the same kind of room and the walls start crushing, and you're like, holy shit, flashback to the beginning of the game, lol. And then you get in there, and then depending on what you did, if you had Campbell walk in the elevator, Campbell goes up there, Michael gets crushed. Otherwise, Michael gets into the glass elevator, and then Campbell gets crushed. So basically, the decision you make in the first 5 seconds of the game, the entire game. So, yeah. Oh shit, this is over 10 minutes. Okay, well, I really hope that they're gonna let me upload this to YouTube because I've got stuff to say, and I'm not redoing this. Okay, well, up on YouTube we go. Look at my other video. And yeah, get the game. It's definitely good. Out of 10 stars, I'd probably give it like a 6 or 7, giving the first one 5 or 6. And then comparing that to Little Big Planet, which I gave it 8, and Resident Evil 5, which I gave it 4. So...